Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, "This is what applies to the Levites. From 25 years old and upward, they shall go in to perform the service in the work of the tent of meeting. And from the age of 50 years, they shall retire from the service in the work, and shall serve no more. But they may minister to their brothers in the tent of meeting, to keep the charge, but they themselves shall do no service." Numbers chapter 8, verses 23b through 26. This week we begin a new series titled Being Engaged in the Lord's Service, with speaking from Brother Minoru Chen on taking responsibility for the services in the church. This message was spoken during the 2016 Memorial Day Conference in Washington, D.C. A link to the original audio can be found in the episode notes.
Brothers, let me say something about this kind of gathering, and that is this. Yes, there is this kind of a working saints gathering for some time now, for some years. Could be 7 years or 8 years ago, I don't remember, where some of the co-workers have a particular burden for this age bracket. By this age bracket, I mean at that time, we use the term young adults. That would mean saints that are, say, outside of the college age, and above, and maybe those who are in their 20s, in their 20s and 30s, and maybe 40 or something like that, the so-called young adults. And initially there were these huge gatherings. Some of you may remember, some of you were not there. You're not part of the age group yet. That met in the semi-annual trainings in Anaheim with 1,000 people, whatnot, over at Ball Road. And feeling was to discontinue those gatherings because it took the whole morning of the training time, taking away the study time, and it became a bit of a distraction. And as a result, those meetings were discontinued. In its place, meetings like this were started, where it was not during a training, but during a conference like this, where we take an afternoon like this Saturday afternoon to just have some fellowship with this age group. And number two, I think there's another positive. There's a positive reason for this, and that is the fact that these conferences, the venue of these conferences, rotate or move around the country. I'm talking about Memorial Day and also Thanksgiving. Thank you. And so this allows these gatherings allows us to populate these gatherings with saints from that particular area who may not, travel here, travel there, but when it's in their hometown or in the home area, they're more likely to come. So the coverages would be a little bit better as well. But I would like to, and that's the first thing. The second thing is, over time, we realize that to just call this the young adults is very, very nebulous and hard to define what is a young adult. To me, if you're in high school senior, you're ready to vote, you're a young adult. And so what is the upper end of the young adult? I never found that out. So it's quite nebulous, if not confusing. So we change it to young working saints. Well, that's better. But who are the young working saints when you put the word young there? And number one, it's hard to define. We always struggle. Are you young when you're 35? depends, right? Are you young when you're 40? Are you young when you're 45? I maintain today I'm over 60, I'm young. So it's a little hard to define, to use that adjective. So in time, we even jettison that adjective there and just say young adults. And we do have precedents here because Brother Lee gave conferences to working saints, period. Working saints, not young, not old, just working saints. And of course here I'm going to give that plug always for that classic book for the working saints, and that is Messages Given to Working Saints. No one can speak better to this group of saints than Brother Lee himself. These are about 8 messages, classic, given in 1988 or so. They're in Taipei, Taiwan. They are as fresh, as relevant today as 20 years ago, and I think these messages will remain so. So if you have not gotten this book, go across the hall to the food store there, right, and get yourself this book and read up on it more than one time. I read this multiple times and still reading it, receiving much help. So another point is when you have young, you have old, right? Am I right? The more you do this, the more you tend to sort of cut up I wouldn't say cut up the body, I would say you tend to draw lines and create boxes within the church life, like, we're the young ones, you're the old ones, and they're this. And whenever we do that, we run a risk of creating certain awkward feeling or unpleasant feeling or misunderstanding or a sense of being excluded sometimes even. All that are not really good for the church life. So the first thing I would like to say is, brothers and sisters, this is a very special gathering occurring at these times. In the church life, it's best that none of us have any kind of a feeling, I am a young working saint, and I am the working saints. They are not. As much as possible, we should do away with that. We are just saints. We are just brothers and sisters. We are just members of the body. We're all the brothers of Jesus. We're all the increase of Christ. Am I right? And that is good enough. I hope that you will not be too locked into this kind of definitions, and the more general the better. The church is God's household, the church is God's family. There's young, there's old, there's different age brackets, but we are still one family. And by the way, I would like to say something to you, and that is I'm increasingly finding the most precious group of saints are not you, sorry. They are those 50 and above. 50 and above. Why? I'll tell you why. Because these are saints, not just because they are senior or older or deserve our respect. Of course they do. But these are ones who have been, many of them have been in the church life for some years. They are more matured. They have more experience in the Lord and humanly. And they have paid a price to remain in the church life. They're faithful all these years. And actually, when they get up to that age, middle age and above, we believe that a person, the older you become, I mean physically, I should use the word, the more mature you become, actually you become more useful in the hands of the Lord. You're more useful in the church life. So the older saints are our treasure. The older saints, we should never have any feeling within us that they're like, these are the old guys, and they're on their way out, and we're taking over. Any such thought is altogether wrong, altogether inaccurate, altogether not according to even the Bible. Even the Bible. I recently have a conference in the Bay Area with the 50 and above saints. Lovely, lovely conference. I never had one. This is my first one. And I fell in love with these saints because I'm in that bracket too. I gave a whole first meeting on the critical importance of the 50 and above saints. And I meant what I say. So I walked them through the whole Bible to convince them, you see. I told the brothers I started out with Adam, who lived to almost 1,000 years. Now talk about a senior person, 1,000 years old. That's Adam. So he started younger, probably, most likely, but he ended up at that age. And then the Bible ends with John, the apostle, who by then, when he was at the Isle of Patmos, was what? 90 years old, 100 years old, I don't know, somewhere in a very senior age, and yet he was the one who saw those visions in the Spirit that are recorded in that book of Revelation. And in between, let me just cite one thing here. In your mind's eye, be truthful, okay? When I mention now Daniel in the lion's den, okay? You have a picture in your mind right now, okay? How old is Daniel in your mind right now, standing there next to those lions? He said a boy. Okay, be truthful. Don't. Just what first thing came to your mind. I think first came to your mind, many of you, is a young guy. Am I right? These lions over here, this young Daniel standing there. Well, I will tell you, Daniel by that time was over 70 years old. So have a change in your concept. It's not a young guy in the lion's den, it was an old man in the lion's den. And it took an old man to handle that situation and not a young guy. Maybe 3 young guys were cast into the furnace, the fiery furnace, but it was an old man praying 3 times a day and standing there for God's need and God's testimony. So younger brothers and sisters, we must treasure all ages, those younger than you, the children, the young people, the college age, the older saints. You should be the ones who know how to behave yourself in the house of the living God, in the sense that you know how to be with all the age groups. Go read Timothy again, Timothy 1, 1 Timothy again, and you'll find how much time the apostle spent in instructing his younger co-worker Timothy in how to behave himself among different age groups and genders in the church life. The brothers, the sisters, the widows, the young brothers, the young sisters. Chapters on that, a chapter or 2 devoted to that. And that shows how critically important it is for us to have the genuine, normal church life. We need to know how to behave ourselves in this way. All right? So I think enough of that. Now, I don't need to go over this weekend's conference because it's only 2 meetings. And on those 2 meetings, wonderful. I don't know about you. I got so much help and light and calibration, I would even say, concerning the matter of the increase of Christ for the building of the church. So I will not get into that. There's still 4 messages coming. I just ask all of us, since we're here in this conference, to pay our utmost attention to these messages and study them, even afterwards. This afternoon, I would just like to take a little time. Let me just make sure I'm in good time. I'm okay, huh? All right. I just want to share something practical with you. The age group of 25 to 50 is a particular age group, as I mentioned before numerous times, in the book of Numbers. The book of Numbers. where the Israelites were not only counted, for service and for war, which is almost synonymous in the book of Numbers, but they were also mentioning of their ages, and particularly related generally to the those who are of age to fight the war, to go into battle, and that would be 20 and above. No upper limit. All right, that's why someone like Caleb was still fighting when he was in his 80s, and after they crossed through Jordan and into the good land, he came to Joshua and claimed his inheritance promised to him. And he said, today I'm 84 or whatever it was. He's, I forgot what exactly the age. He said, today, he told Joshua, I'm stronger than I was 40 years ago when I was with you together as the 2 spies out of the 10 or 12 that went into the good land. The 2, Joshua and Caleb, were the only one who survived the wilderness, who made it into the good land because of their belief in God's promise. Anyway, so no upper limit, but 20 years and upward, you're a fighter. You're a one who can go into battle. And that should be the case in our church life today. I say that the saints who are in their college years should be a fighter, should be in battle, should be fighting for the church life. Maybe you did. I certainly did in my college years. I was absolutely in the front lines. I'm not mature. I was not, that spiritual, all of that. I was just a young college age, but I was consecrated. I was given to the Lord. I was 100% for the church life, and I was there fighting. That is right. And I'm still fighting. I will like to fight until I die. But there's another age mentioning, and that refers to the Levites and the priests. And so with this particular tribe, which is the serving tribe that God had selected among the tribes of Israel, to handle physically and intimately handle the things and furniture and all the things related to that tabernacle in the Old Testament. And that tabernacle, of course, brothers and sisters, refers to to Christ. We know that. But in an expanded sense, that tabernacle refers to the church. The church. It's called the tent of meeting, right? It's also called the tabernacle of the testimony. And so they are privileged to touch those things, those holy things, to unpack them when they camp, and to raise up these things, put all the things in order, and then to maintain them on a day-to-day basis, keeping all these things functioning, these furniture and furnishings. And then they are tasked to take them down when they decamp, when they have to move. Of course, that move always follows the ark. The ark always takes the lead. And then all the things of the tabernacle, and then all the tribes of Israel as an army of Jehovah. And these ones would be the ones who transport these very heavy-duty furnishings and furniture and so on. Only they can touch it. Any other Israel people touch it, they will die, because these are holy things. And so that is a picture of the services in the church life today. And the age group that is mentioned there is, very interestingly, 25 to 50. 25 to 50. Where age 25 to age 30 is, this is not a word in the Bible, but it is by definition the age of internship or apprenticeship. And the age from 30 to 50 are the ages of what? Are the ages of actual, or you may use the word official, service in the tabernacle. Very, very interesting. Now, of course, we do not take any of these numbers legally, all right? That's not the point. The point is there's some rough ranges of age whereby a Levite, a serving one, or a priest can function according to God's ordination. And so, look, today, it is, to me, that is very, very, very meaningful. And you forgive me for being a bit repetitious to some of you, because you may have heard me talking about this. These age brackets, if you will, are there to give markers, if you will, to give markers to these serving ones in what they should do at a certain age. I always say this, that in the church life we have quite a number of markers before 25. All right? And here's are the markers if you grow up in the church life or a church kid. So from 0, right, you're 0 age, all the way to 6th grade. That 6th grade is a marker, Or let's even break it down, from 0 to what? To grade 1 or whatever, right? So that's sort of the infant toddler age. That's pretty obvious. Then from grade 1 to grade 6 is the so-called children's meeting age. There's a marker there, and many churches practice today at the end of grade 6. You take them to a camp, right, or some special meeting to make sure these youngsters are saved and baptized and become a member in the Lord, and that's a marker there. There's a very clear marker you work towards, and then then you enter into the young people's years, which is junior high and high school, another 6 years. So that will take you to the end of high school. There's also kind of a marker. You follow this I wouldn't say this program. You follow this schedule, and then you have something you look forward to. And then after you get out of high school, you know that typically there's another 4 years. Am I right? That's your college years, and those are your college days, your very special college days in the Lord, in the church life, and you're active in a certain way. There's also a marker to that time. Then you graduate from college. Then I would say for those who have a heart to enter into the full-time training, which we promote all the time, you have another marker, and that is a 2-year marker. 2-year marker. And so in those 2 years, you go to the training, and you know what you're going to do. Now, the point is, upon graduation from the full-time training for many years, there's no marker. It's like you step into this big unknown called the church life. You don't know what next. So you're just told to go back and serve, do your best, right? In the church life. Nothing wrong with that. But I find that some of the young people that without some kind of a marker, some kind of something that they can look forward to, it's hard for them to plan their lives, to know where they belong and what to do. So I find that this passage in Numbers to be very, very practical. Now, again, we're not taking this legally or technically, but just in principle. So, look, I tell now the graduates from the full-time training that when you graduate, there are just at the age of about 24, 25, right there. I said, your next marker is a 5-year marker, from 25 to 30. You go back to the church life, or you go serve full-time, you go to work, whatever. Take the next 5 years after you graduate from the training as internship time, as apprenticeship time. That means in the church life, those are the years you learn to engage in the church life, to serve the Lord in the church life, to put what you have picked up in the full-time training to use as a kind of an intern. It's further learning. It's further training time. I think that is a very, very healthy thing. I suggest this, all right? So the 5 years is not like you're just in space. I'm back in the church life. I don't know where I belong. I just don't know. I'm just there going to some meetings. No. These 5 years are internship. You're working with low pay, or no pay, right? This is internship. But this is critical in that you are here practicing the things that you have picked up and learned as an apprentice. Very, very important time. And then at that time, after 5 years, you become 30, right? Sort of around that age. And I would say 30 years, just according to the Lord Jesus, according to the book of Numbers, around that time is a time you should come out and serve in a more definite capacity. I don't mean that's the time, brothers, you become an elder. I don't mean anything like that in a way of rank, in the way of position. I'm just saying organically, that should be the time that you should be fully serving in a official capacity, if you will, in handling the things of the church. What things? All the taking the matter of serving in so many areas in the church life, the needs in the church life, the Levitical practical needs of the church life, bearing burden in the children's meeting, bearing burden with the young people now, bearing the burden with the college age, bearing the burden in the meetings of the church, to function in the meetings of the church, bearing the burden in shepherding others, bearing burden in opening your homes. It's time at 30 you should shoulder the church life. You should be the ones shouldering the church life until you're 50 there. Of course, we do this for the rest of our lives, but there, at least until 50 in numbers. And so I said this marker is a long marker. It's a 20-year marker, from age 30 to age 50 is a 20-year marker. And at that time, then you say, what happens to when you're 50? Well, in the book of Numbers, there's some provision for that. And that is when you're 50, at least those Levites, they will no longer serve in that capacity, but it does not mean they retire. This is why I say 50 plus is very important. It says they become those who would minister to the younger ones. They become shepherds of the shepherds. They become the perfecters of the younger ones. Due to the experience that they have garnered, the learning that they have picked up over many years of serving, they become so useful to perfect another generation of serving ones. Very, very useful in the age 50 and above. Most useful. And so I hope that just this little bit of sharing would at least give you some kind of you know what I mean, some healthy markers here that you can consider, not only for ourselves, but even for those upcoming ones. You can see that there is a life, there is a path that we walk in as we grow up, as far as our service to the Lord is concerned.
Thank you for joining us today. To hear the complete recording and other messages, please visit livingtohim.com. If you would like to receive regular updates from us, please subscribe to this podcast and join our mailing list on our website. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, where our handle is @livingtohim.